Good morning. I'm Pankaj Lal. I'm Director of Clean Energy Sustainability Analytics Center, and on behalf of CESAC Montclair State University, we welcome you. So we'll be starting in just a minute. So just to check that it's a nice weather outside, slightly cold, but thank you that you could make it, and this is the 4th time we are having this summit. So we have great panelists and great speakers lined up, so we'll be starting just in a minute. Just wanted to give you that. Thank
you. Climate change is the ultimate challenge for us. There's so much that we are learning every day and so much that we still don't know. Climate change is going to impact us all. It's not going to impact us all in the same ways.
Consequences of climate change do not cut evenly across populations, both locally and globally.
Energy access is a human right. I think we need all of the stakeholders across the spectrum, including people and regular consumers involved in conversations to make sure that we're moving towards the right solutions.
It is really going to take a multifaceted approach in order to really get to grips with the climate problem.
The center was started in 2018. It's a public and technical center. CESAC organizes Clean Energy and Sustainability Summit each year. We have representatives from the government, industry, as well as university people who are experts. They come together and have honest conversation regarding clean energy future, what we need to do, how we should do it, and what are the different pathways towards a common shared goal for New Jersey and beyond.
Montclair State University is a university committed to advancing the public interest, and the issues of climate change and clean energy are fundamental to the future, not just of New Jersey, but the future of humanity.
Universities play a major role because when you look at all the students that are coming in, educating them, making them aware of the effects of climate change, and they can take that message to their families and friends, and they can do a lot of things. That's one way. The second way is that universities do a lot of research for the sustainability of the environment. Other thing is hosting sessions like this, where you bring in people from all walks of life who are specializing subject matter experts. They can come and talk about what is going on in the field, whether it's in the solar, whether it's offshore wind, energy efficiency, or energy equity. They can come and talk about that, and you stream that information and more people know about it.
So what we're doing here at this conference is finding out how do you align the global economy with the planet so it works towards the same aim rather than against it.
We need more summits like this to talk about the potential policies that are necessary in order to get to where we need to be by 2030 or 2040 or 2050.
All of these types of events help to bring together the people who really have a voice in this and whose perspective is critical to understand in order to develop policy that's fair, that's equitable, and that is going to take us to our climate goals.
This is an event that I think draws the minds of people together on this issue, and that's critical. It also connects different constituencies, right? We've got an incredible array of leaders from state agencies who are working on this, but now they're connecting to academia where ideas are being generated. They're connecting to the nonprofit sector where there are activists who are pushing for solutions. By putting them in one room and on panels, you get an exchange of ideas and a recognition of synergies between the work that's being done on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't happen naturally when everybody's running around and doing their own thing without connecting with each other once in a while.
I think if we're going to make progress addressing climate change and expanding renewable energy in this state, it's going to require a partnership of at least the business community, government, and academia. We need the people with the intellectual resources to do the kind of analysis that's required to support the development of public policy.
The center works across campus and has collaboration among faculty members. The students can come from any discipline. Our research is not just for academic purposes, but we are geared towards changing practices and policies on the ground. Be it working with the government like Board of Public Utilities, working with the private sector or non-governmental sector. We want to make real change through our research, through our data analytics, and through our education programs. We work on the current and pressing sustainability issues. For example, environmental, social, and governance issues, or what we call ESG. We are also looking at the social factors, the governance factors, that how diversity, inclusion, and others are gaining prominence in recent years, and how can we create some of those protocols and criteria. So we are renewing our focus in that area in our teaching, in research, as well as our external partners.
So Montclair State has a mission of providing access and excellence. So we can bring to the forefront the biggest issues and then the most innovative ways to address them. We can actually make a difference.
So that was the transition. It's coming from last year to this year. So all the speakers and others were at the last year's summit. And first of all, I'd like to, before we start, I'd like to acknowledge a lot of our sponsors and others and supporters who are in the room. NJEDA, Board of Public Utility, PSCNG, Commission of Science, Innovation and Tech. Oh. Jen, it seems you want to come back again. And also New Jersey Natural Gas. So based on that, now we'll start with the process for this year's one. So this year, we have 5 panels. After that, there's also Keep Our Planet Green contest. I'll talk about that. That more than 2,000 students sent us our paintings and others. There is an award associated with that. But those are the key points. Like we reached out to 2,000 or more than 2,000 families that we are not directly reaching out to. Elementary school children, middle school, high school across New Jersey. So those are our points. Like they are talking about climate change issues. They are talking about clean energy and others. So those are some of the things that we have been able to do in the last 3-4 years. And we are proud of not reaching out to them. Like being in a university, K to 16 and higher ones is our prime focus. But the other area that we are not alluding to are K to 12 education, working with the communities. That CESAC has been able to do, and based on the number of entries that has been increasing. And we are proud of that, and you will see some of those paintings across. So I'll say that within the panels, within the breaks, walk around, see what we are doing and others. So before I move on, I'd like to introduce our Dean Billings, who will take over from me here. And so Laura Billings is the Dean of College of Science and Mathematics. She is an applied mathematician with specialization in stochastic complex systems. Dr. Billings joined Montclair State University in 2010, and became full professor in 2010, building on a successful research and teaching record. From 2014 to 17, Dr. Billings served as a program director in the Division of Mathematical Sciences at the National Science Foundation. In 2017, she returned to the university as acting dean of the College of Science and Math and appointed dean in 2018, the first woman to hold that position. Dr. Billings is a strong advocate for women and minorities and strives to create a community that provides support and mentoring so that her students can achieve more with their education. I'll give the floor to Dr. Billings so that she can introduce and give her remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Montclair State University is pleased to welcome all of you to our campus to take part in the 4th annual Clean and Sustainable Energy Summit today. Climate change is upon us, and energy use is at the core of this crisis. This week's UN Climate Conference in Egypt seeks to urge the world leaders to move further and faster in transitioning to renewable energy and end our dependence on fossil fuels. And since an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure, we must keep the rise of the global average temperature to below 1.5 degrees Celsius. New Jersey is at the forefront of diversifying the state's energy mix to reduce carbon emissions, and the College of Science and Mathematics is committed to promoting clean energy and sustainability to meet the governor's goal of 100% clean energy by 2050. This summit is an opportunity for policymakers, industry representatives, NGOs, academics, and other stakeholders to engage in a discussion on clean and sustainable energy and move solutions in the state forward. Montclair State University's commitment to advancing clean energy is not new. In 2008, we became the first educational institution in the United States to sign a pact promising the federal government it will take steps to reduce its carbon footprint. Since then, we have experienced a remarkable transformation to the second largest public research institution in New Jersey. With our state-of-the-art facilities, the university has created a thriving community of scholars to conduct cutting-edge research, educate new and a diverse generation of scientists, scholars, and entrepreneurs, and fuel the region's economic growth. In 2018, we created the Clean Energy and Sustainability Analytics Center to support an outstanding team of researchers, including faculty, staff, and students who collaborate with colleagues from around the world to engage in a wide range of clean energy areas. Under the direction of Dr. Pankaj Lal, the center works to advance research on sustainable clean energy economy by providing research, analysis, education, and outreach on clean energy policies, technology, and practices. It is positioned as a leader to provide real-world insights and analytics to regulators, businesses, and citizens of New Jersey and beyond. Building academic corporate community partnerships and generating and achieving collective goals will move us forward towards a more sustainable world. We know that the responsibility now lies with us, those of us in this room, to address clean energy and sustainability challenges and solutions. We have an excellent panel, a set of 5 panels today, and I encourage you to ask questions, interact, and take part to help us to get to our clean energy and sustainability goals. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thanks. And it is now my pleasure to introduce the president of Montclair State University. Almost a year and a half into his presidency, Dr. Jonathan Capel has been an amazing supporter of sustainability and the green innovation initiatives in the College of Science and Mathematics. He cares deeply about public service and has made great strides in forging partnerships with Bloomfield College and the city of Paterson. I know the best is yet to come, so please join me in welcoming Dr. Jonathan Capel.
That's me. I'm not Jennifer Becker, just in case there was confusion. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It is a pleasure to be here. I always laugh that we are all still basically elementary school students at heart. Nobody wants to sit in the front of the room. Thank you, Laura. As she noted, I'm over a year in now, and I remember this was one of the first big events that I was able to participate in, and I was delighted then, as I am now, that I can say that Montclair State University is focused on being part of the solution when it comes to climate issues. It is quite sort of good timing that we meet a few days after the Conference of Parties in Sharm el-Sheikh. There's nothing that we have to say that's negative about that meeting. It's important. There's some oddity of people flying in on their giant jet planes from all over the world to discuss climate change. But it's important, and it drives the agenda home. Of course, nothing drives the agenda home more than the events of the last few years, where we've seen that this question of, oh, if you don't do something about climate change, it's going to be really bad. It's like we're past that formulation now. It is really bad, and actually a point that was made to me by a colleague many years ago, which I've said to others, including people in this room, when people talk about dealing with climate change to save the planet, that's actually the wrong formulation of the question. The planet is going to be here whether we deal with climate change or not. The question is whether we leave the planet in a condition that it can actually sustain human life. And we're starting to see that the things that we're doing are going to make it more difficult to sustain human life, and certainly to sustain a quality of life that we're used to, where we're not constantly dealing with droughts and fires and other calamities that not only make life unpleasant, but make life extremely expensive. And I'm really glad, and I'll get into this in a moment, I'm really glad we're dealing with the economics of climate change. So very important that this happens in the week of Sharm el-Sheikh, but I think underscores that answer, that activity is entirely inadequate, because without solutions at the local level, where people on the ground in communities are actually coming together to formulate solutions that address the manifestations and the causes of climate change in our local area, if you don't do that, then the high-minded, aspirational discussion of goals at a global conference is meaningless. It's just meaningless. And so I'm excited to be here today because it's underscoring that part of our commitment as a public serving institution is for Montclair State University to be an anchor institution to drive forward action on climate and sustainability here in northern New Jersey and the state more generally. We need an institution like this powerful research university to take responsibility. And so, as I say, I was delighted a year ago to find that we were doing exactly that, and I'm thrilled to be able to support the work of Pankaj and Laura and many others at the university who are focused on this area. But as she'll tell you, I'm also impatient for us to do more. And for us to do more, we need all your help, right? We don't view being an anchor institution or being a driver as being a solo act. It's the exact opposite. Part of what it means is to be a coordinating mechanism. And so the importance of a conference like this is not just to hear ourselves talk. It's to connect people who can make things happen together that they otherwise couldn't make happen alone. And we know that the solutions, whether we're talking about developing fuel cells or coming up with better solutions on water or driving innovation, we know those solutions are going to happen only with public sector, private sector, nonprofit, academia working in concert. And so I say about the incredible list of panels that we have today, and I am sorry that I can't hear. What I like about the discussions is there's some really concrete questions in there, right? How do we drive forward on X, Y, and Z? Not just high-minded aspirational stuff. What I would add is not just ask questions, tell us what we can do. How do we play a role? We, Montclair State University, how do we play a role through our support for education, research, community engagement? How do we play a role in advancing those collaborations and partnerships that will address those questions? Energy, of course, is one of a complex set of intertwined issues, right? If you think about what's driving climate change, I think of it as energy, transportation, water, and food. Those complex systems are intertwined to have put us on the trajectory that we're on, and unless we address all of those systems, we're not going to alter the course. We need everyone's help in figuring out what are the best pressure points for us to push and to bring in partners to push in order to affect change. I'm confident, I really am confident that the solutions to these problems exist. You know, we just came out of, for a lot of us, holding our breath wondering if American democracy has a future, right? And one election doesn't answer that question. But we are at that interesting inflection point with respect to our political future, wondering whether these institutions can survive and whether something that's worked well for a couple hundred years as an experiment can move forward in a fruitful way. We're at obviously a similar inflection point with respect to the future of our planet as a habitable environment for humanity. And the question is whether we can get our act together and implement solutions. But I don't think the question is, are there solutions? There are solutions. You all are part of making them. And so we're so excited to have folks here from economic development, from the Department of Environmental Protection, from the Board of Public Utilities, because you all recognize that in order to move forward, you have to be pressed to implement these answers and find the political will. If we can find the political will to move forward, to take care of democracy so that we can all collaborate and find a pathway forward together, I'm confident that we can use our problem-solving abilities to equally address our failure to collaborate and advance on the climate and sustainability solution. Energy is a huge part of the answer. I'm super excited that Tim Sullivan is here from the Economic Development branch of New Jersey State Government. We are fortunate to live in a state that has made a significant commitment to sustainable energy, not just for environmental reasons, but because it's a building block of our state's economic future. And so the massive sort of commitment to wind energy, among other sources, is really inspiring. And as everybody in this room knows better than I, that hasn't been a frictionless pathway to go down. It's required commitment, and it's required an acceptance that there will be critics and there will be naysayers, and yet we've done it anyway. That's not every state, and so I feel very lucky that we are part of a New Jersey ecosystem that takes the challenge seriously and is willing to make hard decisions to move forward. That should be an inspiration for all of us as we take on this work. There are places where people have good ideas and they just go into the circular file. Luckily, that's not happening in New Jersey, and I look forward to seeing not only the output of the conversations today and the charge that you give Montclair State University, but how we together can make New Jersey be a leader in this do or die, life or death challenge for the species. And I know that sounds a little melodramatic, but I happen to think that's actually accurate. That's actually accurate. I'm sorry that I won't be able to be here. I'm going to try and pop in during the day, but I look forward to hearing from Pankaj and Laura how the discussion goes. And thank you all so much for being part of this. Thank you for the work you're doing on a daily basis, and thank you for the sponsors for making this happen. Good luck today, and I look forward to seeing what great ideas come out of the sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, President Kapil. So now we have the keynote address by Tim Sullivan. So Tim Sullivan became Chief Executive Officer of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority in February 2018. During his tenure, Tim has led the NJEDA's transformation into a comprehensive economic development organization dedicated to implementing Governor Phil Murphy's vision for a stronger and fairer New Jersey. Tim has overseen the creation of new programs focused on catalyzing industry clusters and a dedicated small business services unit charged with providing robust financial workforce and technical support to the state's small business community with a focus on historically underrepresented firms. Under his leadership, NJEDA has led the development and implementation of more than 15 programs created under the Economic Recovery Act of 2020, provided more than $1 billion in COVID-19 relief to small businesses impacted by the pandemic, and many more things that he'll talk about. So I'll give the floor to Tim, and join me in welcoming him for his keynote address.
Thank you. Good morning. I heard Mr. President loud and clear. Good morning. There you go. Good morning. It's an honor to be here. My name is Tim Sullivan. I'm the CEO of the Economic Development Authority. On behalf of Governor Phil Murphy and our entire administration, including my colleagues from the EDA, the BPU, DEP, the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology that are here, it is great to be here for this really important conversation. I think the President framed the conversation really well. This ain't beanbag. This is essential, existential topic that we're here to talk about, and not just for New Jersey, but for the planet. I thought what I'd do is take a couple minutes. I want to actually set a bit of some context around kind of what's going on in New Jersey and what's going on in the New Jersey economy, because I think what we're talking about, at least with regard to the work that me and my colleagues do, is really around trying to sort of harness the economic opportunity that the clean energy transformation represents. So I'll talk a bit about New Jersey in the context of what we're up to as a state, and then also talk a lot about what we're doing around clean energy and the clean energy transformation, and again, the massive workforce development, job creation, and economic transformation opportunities. First of all, Mr. President, thank you for hosting us today and for having this important conversation, and appreciate your leadership on so many things. We got to know each other for the first time when the Governor's Trade Mission to Ireland, where we talked a lot about clean energy, not just you and me, but the delegation talked a lot about clean energy and that transition, and learning from what's going on in Europe around clean energy, particularly offshore wind. I will just say at the outset, I'm one of those people who still has nightmares about being on a college campus and having signed up for 5 classes and gone all semester to 4 of them, and then you wake up in its final season and oh crap, there's a 5th class you haven't paid attention to it all year. I have that nightmare like once a quarter, once every 6 months, something like that. So being on a college campus is always a little intimidating from that perspective, but it is great to be here and great to be partnering with such an important anchor institution here in North Jersey, here in New Jersey, in Montclair State. What an important institution this is, and we're deeply appreciative of the leadership of not only the President, but the entire team in bringing this conference together and doing so many things. So again, I want to talk about the clean energy transformation, clean energy transition. But I want to do a little bit of context setting for what's going on in New Jersey, because we're having this conversation in early to mid-November, I suppose, of 2022, and kind of what are some of the macro things we're seeing and facing in New Jersey. I would tell you that our momentum in New Jersey's economy is as good today as it's been in recent memory. And that's not without some significant challenges. Some of those challenges are macro and things we can't control. Inflation, interest rates, a ground war in Europe that obviously is horrible in every dimension, and one of them is economic. Significant challenges coming our way. Probably some softening in the overall economic framework going forward. I'm not going to say the R word, but probably some softening in the overall economic outlook for sure. But all that being said, New Jersey has real momentum, and again, is in as strong a position as we've been in recent memory, going back probably to the turn of the century. And that's not just happy talk, and people in my line of work are prone to hyperbole, but that's not just happy talk. You can see it in data. We've been, we're back in the top 10 in venture capital investment in New Jersey, New Jersey-based companies and startups. We've seen our credit upgraded for the first time in generations. I'm 41 years old. S&P had never upgraded New Jersey's credit ratings in my lifetime prior to earlier this year. It's now upgraded us twice. So our fiscal house is, not where it needs to be yet, but getting, more in order. We've been in the top 10 a couple times for quarterly GDP growth compared to the rest of the country. Through the most recent 12 months, New Jersey is adding more jobs in the private sector than any state in the Northeast, including Pennsylvania. Our manufacturing sector is in the top 10 in the country for GDP growth, or economic output growth over the last, that's 2018 to 2022, halfway through 2022. So we are seeing real strong performance, and certainly strong relative performance compared to our peers in the Northeast and all across the country on a variety of measures. And you can see it too in investments that people are making in New Jersey, in things like our traditional strengths, things like pharma. A bit flies under the radar, but we think of New Jersey as the home of the medicine chest of the world, and it is, and it remains that. But new companies are making, new and growing companies in the pharma and life sciences industry are making major investments. Companies like Gilead, which was critical to the response to COVID and the fight against HIV and AIDS and lots of other things, making a major investment building its East Coast headquarters in New Jersey. PTC Therapeutics, Eisai, a big Japanese company just down the road in Nutley, making a major investment. You've seen companies like Beijing down in my neck of the woods in Mercer County making major investments. So our traditional strengths in things like pharma, financial services, technology, all performing really well as well. But really importantly, and I promise this is going to segue to clean energy in a moment, we are seeing significant progress under Governor Murphy's vision for and leadership in diversifying our economy and our economic diversification strategy. There are new industries that are either brand new or going from very small in the grand scheme of things to very large that are taking flight during Governor Murphy's time in office. Just Tuesday, Governor Murphy and I were in Berkeley Heights to celebrate Fiserv, which is a major, it's a Fortune 220 or so is their rank, company building a 3,000-person fintech innovation center in Berkeley Heights. Again, 3,000 jobs in fintech, an industry that was, is growing rapidly, but still in its nascency. Sports betting, cannabis, film and television. Film and television in New Jersey, we got more people looking to build studios than we got places to put them. That's a high-class challenge, but a real challenge all the same. Those are going to create, tens of thousands of jobs. So, 3 or 4 major industries. The top of that list, though, is clean energy and offshore wind for economic diversification and thinking about adding new pistons to the state's economic engine. And again, the president set the tone exactly right. I'm talking about the existential stakes of this discussion around climate change and clean energy. We have to, for our kids and our grandkids and their grandkids, get this right. The way I think we're going to do that, and I think the argument to convince skeptics, slash cynics, slash bad faith actors, which exist, this is an economic opportunity of the highest order. An energy transition and a transition to a carbon-free, carbon-neutral, however you want to think about it, renewable energy framework, not just in New Jersey, not just in America, but around the world, is a massive economic opportunity. In the same way that the hydrocarbon industry was a massive economic opportunity 100, 150 years ago. and let's not repeat those mistakes again, let's make some new ones, but there's a huge opportunity here for job creation, for enterprise formation, for wealth creation, for new industries and new and the creation of tons of new jobs. Governor Murphy has set ambitious goals in our response to climate change, and that those are widespread and wide-ranging. I won't go through all of them, but broadly our goals of carbon reduction, emissions reduction by 2050, renewable energy by 2050, major regulatory responses and things like flood maps and flood resiliency regulations that I think are 100% smart and the right thing to do. But we've also made major commitments around the economic dimensions of the clean energy transformation. I'll talk about offshore wind in a moment. Let me start with everything but offshore wind. Electric vehicles, we think, is a huge opportunity in New Jersey. DEP and BPU are doing extraordinary work on the electric car side of the equation. EDA is rolling that as a way to both support small businesses, but also to help anchor the supply chain, is around electric trucks. Now, electric trucks aren't quite there yet. You're not going to see an electric semi rolling down Route 46 anytime soon, but not terribly far off in the future. But some, not like so far we can't see it, but not right now. But there are electric, mid-sized, light and medium duty truck vehicles available for purchase right now. So bread trucks and food delivery and sprinter vans and those kinds of things, all of which contribute a lot of emissions. Represent a huge opportunity. We've got, under the RGGI program, which was referenced in the video earlier, we're going to invest about $100 million through our NJ-ZIP program, which supports primarily small businesses buying electric, light, and medium-duty vehicles. It's an extraordinary opportunity, one, to support New Jersey small businesses, particularly minority, women, veteran, immigrant, LGBT-owned small businesses, but also to help anchor the supply chain. We have bonuses built into that program from when you buy and commit to have serviced and supplied your product in New Jersey. There's a first mover advantage. California, obviously, out west had sort of the big first mover advantage, but we think New Jersey's got a shot at the East Coast version of first mover advantage around electric vehicle infrastructure, electric vehicle supply chain, electric vehicle, not hardcore manufacturing. We're not going to roll off the factory floor likely in New Jersey, but electric vehicles, electric trucks, electric cars are going to have a life cycle of maintenance and operations and supply chain component dimensions that we think could benefit New Jersey manufacturers and create a significant opportunity in their own right. So we're using things like our RGGI funds and NJ-ZIP to support, again, not just adoption of the vehicle technology, but also the supply chain opportunities. We've also, thinking about manufacturing, we've made some major investments and some major bets, frankly, around decarbonized manufacturing. So about a year and a half ago, Governor Murphy announced a major partnership with an entity called HACS in Newark, who chose Newark. We were part of a national competition. New Jersey and Newark beat out 6 or 7 other states and cities to be the U.S. And frankly the global headquarters of a decarbonized, clean manufacturing, green manufacturing, hard technology accelerator, incubator, and platform in Newark. So that's going to create 2,500, we think, new jobs in and around Newark as they grow and take root. This is from a company called, the parent company is a company called SOSV, which is the largest early stage venture capital investor in the world most years. It does change year to year, but they're one of the most active. And they're making a huge bet around decarbonized manufacturing. And they want to do it in an urban place. They want to do it in a place that brings together, in a place just like Newark, that has infrastructure and location and density, and also an embedded significant manufacturing workforce to begin with, but also because they think one of the theses of that enterprise is COVID taught us you want your supply chain a bit closer to home. Having supply chains that are tied up with bad regimes, that are tied up in overseas places, and when push comes to shove, including ourselves, we all tend to get protective of the home team. If your supply chain is in some place that's going to protect its home team, you can have some real challenges. So onshoring of manufacturing broadly, and specifically opportunities to decarbonize and create hard tech manufacturing opportunities. Again, this HACS initiative and part of a number of other initiatives, we think is a real distinguisher, gives us a real opportunity for distinction. We are also, in the governor's budget that he signed in late June, we have a manufacturing initiative, and that includes some things around grants to companies, vouchers to companies to upgrade and make more energy efficient their manufacturing operations. That's good in its own right. But we also just put out a solicitation or a request for information. We want to, again, we think there's early adopter opportunities here. Someone's going to make, this wouldn't have been true 5-10 years ago, but I think it's true. Someone's going to make solar panels in America instead of in China or in Vietnam or wherever they're being made right now. There's going to be a there is an imperative for domestic manufacturing of clean energy infrastructure in a different way than there was even 2-3 years ago. Again, we want New Jersey to be, that's going to happen in lots of places. That'll happen certainly in places that manufacturing is strong. New Jersey is one of those places. But we think, again, there is a huge opportunity. New Jersey has the most installed solar capacity, I think, I don't know if it's per capita or total, in the Northeast. We have a huge opportunity around solar. We have a huge opportunity around energy efficiency. We have a huge opportunity around batteries and storage and hydrogen and all these other things. We want early adopters to take root in New Jersey, because where they put down those roots in the Northeast and in the U.S. to a certain extent is going to drive where they do their growing. So we have some money that we have available to support those early adopters, or the first movers, for lack of a better word, that will likely be putting on the street next year. But we wanted to hear from the industry, what are the kinds of things that are out there, what are the opportunities that are there. So there's an RFI active right now around that. The other thing I mentioned, Jonathan Ratner's here, the governor signed a bill creating a CPACE program in New Jersey. We are in the process of getting the rules and regulations and process points of that right. The president talked about the various contributors to carbon. In New Jersey, transportation is typically top of that list. We're a driving state, we're a trucking state. That's a challenge. We're also a pretty big, we're an old economy state where our buildings were built a long time ago. Energy efficiency, energy retrofits, the opportunity to redo or get right, and by the way, incorporate into new construction too, energy efficiency and emissions reduction. The CPACE program, we think, is going to be a really important tool that leverages not a dime of public money, but leverages private sector financing capabilities to drive more investments in energy retrofits and building energy efficiency in commercial properties. So the C in CPACE stands for commercial, because there's certainly opportunities in single-family homes and all that, but in commercial properties to really drive emissions reduction, energy consumption reduction, and by the way, create a bunch of jobs. That's going to create a lot of hard hat jobs in doing those building retrofits. And so this is, we think, a huge opportunity. So that's kind of the sort of the non-wind clean energy part of the equation. The other thing, I think, where New Jersey is positioned to be one of, if not the leader in the country, and therefore in the nation, excuse me, in the world, is offshore wind. Governor Murphy announced at Climate Week back in September, during adjacent to the UN General Assembly, that New Jersey was raising its clean energy and offshore wind targets. The PPU, hi Jim, is raising its offshore wind targets to 11 gigawatts by 2030, 35, 40, 2040. Let's say 2035. You guys work fast. We'll work. You guys work fast. You'll be fine. But expanding from 7.5 gigawatts to 11 gigawatts, the state's commitment to and target for offshore wind power generation. That is an enormous amount of power. That is a significant part of New Jersey's long-term power needs. If we can generate that from offshore, that is a huge opportunity. But again, there's offshore wind is great. As a citizen, as a parent, as a person who cares about the earth, so offshore wind is great in its own right. It's great for our energy security framework. It's great for our energy independence. It's great for our environmental stewardship. It's also a massive, massive job creation opportunity. All throughout the Northeast, this isn't a small opportunity. From the Carolinas up through Maine, there's enough offshore wind and the right geology, sort of topography and geology of the way that our continental shelf works. You can harness significant amounts of wind. The three great places, I've been told this by smart people, the three great places in the world to do offshore wind are kind of northern Europe and the sort of the Baltic and North Sea area. One of the coasts of Taiwan, hopefully not the one in between Taiwan and mainland, but one of the coasts of Taiwan, and the northeast of the United States, with New Jersey smack dab in the middle of that belt. The wind is strong, the topography is right, and the market is there. It's an extraordinary opportunity. We think in the United States, in the Northeast, there's poised to be $150 billion, and I think that number's light, by the way, $150 billion of private sector investment in offshore wind. This is not a liberal government fantasy. There's a market opportunity here. It may also be a liberal government fantasy, myself included, but it is not just that. There is a huge market opportunity. significant companies with big balance sheets who are active in the fossil fuel industry, get the joke that fossil fuels are going to run out someday, and there's a diversification opportunity that they need to get ahead of, and they're poised to make massive investments. Again, $150 billion. I think that number's light. I think that number goes up. That's going to create in the region hundreds of thousands of jobs in clean energy and offshore wind. In New Jersey, we think that's tens of thousands of jobs in offshore wind. That is not. We usually don't talk about new industries creating that many new jobs. It's a once in a lifetime, once in a generation kind of opportunity. So what's New Jersey's strategy? It's a bit of an oversimplification, but we think about it sort of the 3 Ps, and this is a bit of a bit cute and oversimplifying, but it works. 3 Ps: procurement, people, and ports. Procurement, I talked about. The BPU's done an extraordinary job through its OREC process of procuring power into the grid through the first 2 solicitations and then solicitations to come. But also, really importantly, the governor and President Fioraliso and Jim and others at BPU set a really clear strategy of a steady heartbeat of procurement. So we're going to do this with a regular pattern. There's going to be a steady diet of projects so that the private sector, I see some private sector folks that are here as well, can predict and make investment decisions that say New Jersey's going to be there for the long haul on a regular and predictable pattern of procurement, so that we can have projects that have a full pipeline of projects from now until 2040 and likely beyond that. So procurement, hugely important. And in that procurement strategy, a significant emphasis on local content. Again, we want job creation as part of this. This is yes, of course, about energy, yes, of course, about the environment, but Governor Murphy's been clear from the jump. This is about job creation. So we've seen massive commitments from the winners of those procurements in the first 2 procurements. I'm sure we'll continue to see that kind of thing going forward, of people building major manufacturing facilities, major supply chain opportunities, major workforce development commitments to things like the Wind Institute, which I know Jen's going to talk about in one of her panels. Jen Becker from the EDA and the Wind Institute. So procurement, massively important. That is kind of the first. That is sort of the first spark that lights the engine of offshore wind. The second is people, and again, Jen, who's here and around this, probably had the shortest commute here, other than maybe the president. I don't know if he lives on campus, but probably had the shortest commute here this morning. Lives around the corner, leads our Wind Institute efforts around trying to make sure that we are, again, if we're going to create tens of thousands of new jobs in New Jersey, some of those jobs are similar to jobs that exist today. Some of them are brand new. Right this minute, nobody works as an offshore wind technician offshore. Nobody in New Jersey. Nobody. There are people who do some things that are similar, but we have got to get people ready. These are no longer jobs of the sometime off in the horizon. These are jobs of now. We got to get ready for now. And so having a strategy of making major investments in training and workforce development and partnering with higher ed. We have 3 or 4 different partnerships with higher ed that I know Jen will talk about in more detail. And as well as partnerships with the VOTEC system. We've got 2 partnerships with the Salem County VOTEC system and the Gloucester County Institute of Technology around training kids as early as high school to get ready for particularly the manufacturing and supply chain opportunities. Because again, these are not jobs 50 years from now. These are jobs that are going to be active in the next 2, 3, for the next 50 years, but starting in meaningfully in the next year or 2. And in some cases, like in Paulsboro, today, there are people working right now making monopiles in Paulsboro. And so these are jobs that are today, but we got to get folks ready for it. And I'm sure I know Jen will talk more about the workforce development, talent, and training dimensions of all that work. The third is ports. So procurement, people, ports. One of the things that when we went to school collectively as an administration on how people were doing this right, particularly in Northern Europe, by this, I mean supporting an offshore wind industry, co-locating the manufacturing of these really heavy pieces of equipment and the marshaling where these things get stood up and doing those in the same place is really important. And the challenge in New Jersey and in the Northeast is that most of our ports are already full. Port of Newark Elizabeth is the second most active port in America. It's pretty damn full. You're not going to find a couple hundred acres to do the kind of stuff you need to do there. And also, again, this is all stuff I learned and I'm repeating and operating without a license, but offshore wind turbines don't float out to shore, float out to sea like this. They float out like this, and they're as tall as the Eiffel Tower. If you bump into the Verrazano Narrows Bridge with one of those, you'll be in a lot of trouble. You'll also lose a lot of money. So you need to have sites that are free of bridge constraints, free of major electrical infrastructure, that you can float 100 Eiffel Towers out and not bother anybody out to the open ocean. And so we went through a pretty long process of trying to identify places in New Jersey we could build a wind port. and we found 200 acres, again, 200 acres that's developable, that doesn't have environmental challenges, that doesn't have neighbors that would hate you building a manufacturing facility next to them, that has open ocean access. There's not that many places in the Northeast that are like that. There's very few in New Jersey. One of them is in Lower Alloys Creek in Salem County, New Jersey, right next to the PSE&G nuclear facility, where we have entered into a 78-year lease with PSE&G for 200 acres of what will be and what is going to be the first in the nation purpose-built greenfield wind port. You're going to have manufacturing and marshaling co-located together. And it's an extraordinary place. We're about to click past 100,000 hours of building trades and organized labor hours on that project. It's an extraordinary place to build a heavy industrial project. The closest neighbors are 5 miles away in New Jersey. There's a few closer in Delaware. We don't really care if they complain about the noise. They call somebody else. And it's not that noisy to begin with. Again, the neighbors are a nuclear plant. So again, there's not a lot of houses right next door. It's a great place to build heavy industrial, and it was purpose built. The land in which it's being built was purpose built for clean energy and renewable energy, and so it's an extraordinary asset. We think it's going to support at least 1,500 permanent jobs in offshore wind. We think it's going to be the home of major manufacturing facilities that are going to create, family-sustaining careers for people in Salem County. Salem County's got all of 65,000 people, so 1,500 jobs is a lot. It's a huge inflection point in that part of the state. It's the second poorest county in New Jersey as well, so a huge shot in the arm for South Jersey and for Salem County. And that's only one of our. I mean, that's the biggest, but that's only one of our port-related strategies up the river, up the Delaware River. In Paulsboro, EEW is presently, again, as I mentioned earlier, they're manufacturing right now monopiles at the first manufacturing facility for offshore wind in America, and that is going to be an incredibly, again, these early pieces being put on the chessboard early and in a big way in New Jersey is a first mover advantage. It's going to be a huge generational opportunity for New Jersey. So we're incredibly excited about the potential for the wind port in Salem County, as well as what's going on in Paulsboro. And there's going to be job creation opportunities up and down the state from offshore wind. Yes, a lot of them will be in South Jersey, and when we're in South Jersey, we're very proud to say that this is going to make South Jersey probably the capital of American offshore wind. And South Jersey, again, could use a lift economically for damn sure. But there are opportunities all throughout the region, all throughout the state, because offshore wind is going to create a series of jobs, tons of construction jobs, overwhelmingly union jobs, operations and maintenance. These things are 30-year life cycle type of pieces of equipment, and they're big and they're expensive. People are going to maintain them. There's significant manufacturing opportunities. Again, we think there's going to be at least several. We know there are going to be several manufacturing facilities of significant size at the wind port and other places. So significant manufacturing and supply chain opportunities to sell into the big equipment manufacturers, for New Jersey manufacturers to participate in that supply chain opportunity. There's going to be huge opportunities in R&D. We would love the next generation of wind turbines to be developed in a lab, in a commercial lab here in New Jersey, and then manufactured snout to tail here in New Jersey. This is presently a European industry that is doing a lot of business in the United States. We need it to become an American industry. And so having that R&D flow through is really important as well. Wind Institute is a lot of connectivity to those ambitions as well. And then when you have a new industry pop up, all kinds of professional services things happen next to it. So lawyers we don't wake up every day thinking, how do you help lawyers and accountants? But lawyers, accountants, marketing, creative industry, all the things that support a major new industry being built, those are going to be created as well. Those are going to be all across the state, all across the region. So again, we think there is enormous upside in offshore wind and offshore wind manufacturing. So we're incredibly excited about that, again, because it's the right thing to do, for the Earth, for our world, for our kids, for our grandkids. It's also really smart. There's a ton of job creation opportunity here. This is not something that comes along. I've been doing economic development for a decent part of my career. You don't have opportunities like this every day, and it's a massive opportunity. It's one we have an opportunity to really get some things right around diversity and inclusion. It's an industry being built in 2022 and beyond. For the love of God, can we get this right with regard to women, people of color, immigrants, the LGBT community, veterans? There's a huge opportunity for veteran businesses in this industry. This is a huge opportunity to get this right And that's something that Governor Murphy and our entire team are really focused on as well, because this is a generational opportunity. But if you don't get it right in the early days, the opportunity is constrained and informed by those choices. And so, again, we couldn't be more excited about all the opportunities in front of us in wind, in clean energy manufacturing, electric vehicles, and building retrofits, and energy efficiency. We think New Jersey is really well positioned to be one of, if not the leaders in the country, and again, therefore the world, in all these opportunities. Under Governor Murphy's leadership, we are all working like hell, around the clock, to deliver on as much of this as we can, because it's a huge opportunity set. It's a huge, and it's hugely competitive as well. If we were having this meeting in New York or Massachusetts or Virginia, they're not dummies over there. They realize the same opportunities we do. There's a competitive dimension to this. We've got to get this right to support New Jersey, to support the region, to support the country. I would note the vast difference it makes having a federal administration and the Biden administration that supports clean energy and offshore wind should not be taken for granted. It's not a political comment. It's a matter of fact. The federal government has stepped up in a huge way in the last 2 years, and things like the Inflation Reduction Act are going to create a huge tailwind and support for clean energy broadly and manufacturing broadly, chips and science as well. Huge opportunities from the federal government to support clean energy, both from a policy perspective and money. That's my favorite thing that the federal government can do, is give us money to do stuff. There's a huge opportunity set there as well. So again, certainly there are challenges. Certainly there are some headwinds facing us macroeconomically. Certainly there are some challenges in the clean energy industry right now. As with any new industry, there's going to be fits and starts. But the opportunity set, the ball game here is really worth playing and winning. This is an incredibly big opportunity for durable, sustainable, new job creation here in New Jersey. Again, under Governor Murphy's leadership, we're doing everything we can to make the most of this extraordinary opportunity. Thanks for letting me be here for a few minutes. Thanks for having me. Hope you have a great conference. Mr. President, thanks for hosting us, and Dean as well, thank you for hosting us, and hope you have a great day.